Hi, and welcome back to the Escape Room Scholar. My name's Rob, and today we'll be talking about what do we do for those students that finish early? Not just like a minute early, but 15 minutes early. How do we keep them busy, and what can we do with them while everyone else is still trying to escape? Students are all different, and when we group different students together, well, we get different groups, don't we? And so with these different groups of students, some groups are going to take maybe 45 minutes to do an escape room, about the total time that we've got. And some groups might finish in half an hour, 15 minutes earlier than the others. And this leaves a bit of a problem. We don't want them just twiddling their fingers. We don't want them disrupting other groups. What can we do with these students? Well, firstly, let's think about what sort of factors are involved in some groups finishing way earlier than others. And there's quite a few different things. One might be how prepared different groups of students are. Some might have been studying for a particular thing. Some may have been reading in a particular area. Some may have brought in books and extra resources they can use, depending on how your escape room's structured, you may allow that. And some may have just woken up and they're hardly prepared at all. And so that's one aspect of it. Some groups might be communicating better within the groups and sharing ideas better, whereas some groups may be very insular and siloed and not actually sharing their ideas, and so they're not actually jumping to those logical conclusions earlier. And there's those logical conclusions as well. How quickly are groups getting to those aha moments where they're like, oh yes, we know how to solve this one, we just need to go through the motions and work it out. And sometimes that takes longer than others. Sometimes that's down to experience, that the more sort of escape rooms or escape room-like puzzle activities students do, the better they get at those sort of things. And some groups or team members are just better at solving puzzles. Some are better at following directions as well. Some might not be reading the directions that you set there. Some of them may, hopefully not, leave part of the puzzle inside the envelope. It's happened a lot, and it's why I always advise groups, make sure you get everything out of the envelope. Otherwise, solving a puzzle with some puzzle pieces missing becomes very difficult. And there's probably other factors as well. But seeing that we realise that students won't all solve the puzzles or the whole escape room in the same amount of time, what can we do with those students? Well, there's a few different things that you can do with those students to keep them engaged, to keep them learning and reflecting on what they've done. The first thing that I do is have some sort of a conclusion to the activity. And that conclusion could be typically in a written form. It could be a short video or something they watch on their phone. Not a video that you put on for the whole classroom because groups will be finishing at different times. And you want to give the conclusion when they've actually concluded. So I often have it in a written form. It might be a couple of paragraphs. Some I've done where it's an email from the person that was the game master running the escape room, thanking them for their work and actually building some revision into that of, oh, okay, I see that you've developed skills in this, this, and this, but all within character and all within the theme of what the escape room actually is. That particular one was from the head of security for this cybersecurity firm. So we want to conclude our escape room somehow. But that only might take a minute or two at most. It won't be a very long, drawn-out thing. So that leaves us a bit of extra time to work with. Well, there's a few different things you could do. If you're doing research in educational escape rooms, like I am, or other academics are, you might give students a short survey they can fill out. And that survey will have a series of questions. It might take students a few minutes where they tick a few boxes, a Likert style survey, about how much they enjoyed puzzles, how much they were engaged, what their intrinsic motivation is, like how much they wanted to complete the escape room. All of those sort of questions. Also things about difficulty and how well they work together as a team. They tend to be the typical sort of questions we find in educational escape room research. Another thing that you could do, which is often mirrored in the recreational escape rooms, is have some signs and encourage students to take photos in them. So they might be things like, we escaped, missed it by that much. Well, it wouldn't be for these students because these students finished early and they didn't miss it by that much. Nailed it, let's do that again. You could make those signs available to them, and you don't need to keep those photos. They could be their own photos just for fun. But imagine if you had a classroom where students are taking all these photos and saying, let's do that again, or nailed it. It shows they're actually enjoying things. It's actually interesting, some people I partnered with recently Completely unprompted, students took a bunch of photos at the end of the escape room of themselves, some puzzles, a decoder box and things like that, and they posted on LinkedIn and raved about how exciting this activity was. That's some good press, and it's actually something that encourages other students to look forward to that subject and, oh, we do this fun activity where we learn these things and we learn in this way. That's some really positive feedback that you're getting as an educator, that students are engaged and enjoying it. You might also want to have some sort of a brief debrief within those groups. You could hand around some questions to the group of things like, what did the students like? What didn't they like? Just to talk about. What would have they done differently? Which is a really probing question about recognizing what things they may not have done, what things they could have improved on. You don't need to listen to any of those things. You don't need to take any notes on those things. That can just be feedback for the students to actually become a bit more self-aware about how they're doing and how they're playing out. Now, you may not be doing each of these steps, and I'm not saying you need to do all of them. These are just some ideas of things you can do. Now, there's one other thing that's actually built into the educational escape room decoder boxes, which is a mastermind game. Mastermind's a bit like Wordle, but for numbers rather than letters. And basically what you're trying to do is guess the magic number. Now, this is two different games that have been programmed into the escape room decoder boxes. And basically, when you put it into this mode, it'll give the students either a 3-digit or a 4-digit number they need to guess. It's a random number, so when I or you turn them on, you have no idea what that number is going to be, neither do the students. They need to guess. Each time they make a guess, it tells them how many numbers they've got correct and how many numbers are in the correct spot. Now, I should note that numbers are never repeated, so you can never get a 777 or a 771, for example. You could get a 752, for example, because none of those numbers are actually repeated or used more than once. To get into this mode is quite simple. You turn the decoder box off. If you hold the 7 button down and turn the decoder box on, it gets you into the 3-digit version. The 3-digit version, you've got a 3-digit number you need to guess, and we'll see that one come up on the screen. You can see there's 3 digits you need to guess, and as you type in some numbers, 1, 2, 3, it tells you how many numbers you've got right and how many in the correct spot. The 4-digit version, you just hold down the 8 button and turn it on while you're holding the 8 button down, and your 4-digit version pops up. Now, you can make it a bit of a competition. You can tell students what the record is for your classroom. Some people are extremely good guessers, and so they'll do better at beating the record than others. Some groups might take 40 or 50 guesses. That's because they're not using much deductive reasoning there. Groups can tend to get the 3 version in under 10 guesses. They're doing pretty well. I think the record I've ever seen is 4 guesses, which was just some amazing guesses coupled with some good deductive reasoning. Typically, I give groups the 3-digit puzzle first, and if they've solved that one, and if they've blitzed that, then I give them the 4-digit puzzle, just to step up the challenge a little bit and encourage them along. Well, hopefully that gives you some ideas for those students that have been blitzing your escape rooms and getting through really quickly. What can you do with them to keep them from just twiddling their fingers or wondering what's happening out the window? How can you keep them engaged and give them something to do which focuses their attention back on problem solving and learning and reflection as well? And also a bit of celebrating.